we are faced with a critical existential question. It's either we think about the next elections or we think about the next generations. And this is a question that can, be responded with common sense. No, but it doesn't happen in the real world.
This is the Go Maluku podcast.
The question that came in, and it's been coming in multiple times, like what went wrong with the old social contract, and maybe tagging into the kind of question is like, so what elements does this new social contract need to include, or key areas need to include, so that it benefits Indigenous people or serves Indigenous peoples?
If I could, so what went wrong with the old social contract, if you look at the way governments were ordered and the terms of the implicit or tacit agreement that established governance and the relationship between government and society, it was mostly exclusive of Indigenous peoples if we're talking about the states. And as I said earlier, the social contract that needs to happen now is not a reformed one, it's a new one for Indigenous peoples. So Indigenous peoples were able to remedy that exclusion of the past. And I think María Fernanda, and it's really wonderful to be sharing the stage with you, the virtual stage, makes a very important point that the social contract is one that is broadly inclusive of all of society, and not just has to do with Indigenous peoples, although Indigenous peoples have special particular interests in this idea of a social contract. We might think of the social contract having two dimensions in regards to Indigenous peoples. One is that relationship that Indigenous peoples have with the state, with the systems of governance around them, with the broader society, in the terms of the tacit or implicit agreement within that broader context, within the context, and the terms of moral and political behavior of the broader society itself, and the broader national and global societies. There are problems, as pointed out by the Secretary General and highlighted just now by María Fernanda, in the world that are seemingly intractable, that require deep reforms, reformulated arrangements, economic, political, social, to address the deep problems facing the world: inequality, pervasive poverty, climate change. We know what they are. And it is within that broader context that of the need for a new social contract in the larger sense, that we can think of Indigenous peoples and efforts to develop and reform their own relationships with society and the governance structures around them. But those two dimensions, I think, is what we're talking about and needed attention.
Yeah, definitely. I cannot agree more with James. In basically, I think that we are living, of course, everybody tells us the world is incredibly interconnected. We're all interdependent. And we are arguing now that the Earth system is a common heritage, and we're working towards that. I am an ambassador of the Common Home for Humanity initiative, and we are working towards a global pact for the environment, and we're trying to put the pieces together in a way. But I think that in spite of that we are more connected. Even, when we say we are all connected, the virtual world is connecting connecting us all. But when you start thinking, for example, that half of the world, 50%, do not have access to internet, they're offline. What is the kind of inclusion that we are talking about? What to do with this 50%? And when it comes to women around the world, 4 or 5 points percentage excludes them even further, from access to be connected. And I'm saying this because I believe that this new social pact or social contract, whatever name we want to give to that new way of building forward better. I think that it is a time for reconnection, to reconnect. And what are the things that we need to reconnect? And I think one of the reconnections that we really need as humanity is connect the times and cycles of nature with the times and cycles of politics and decision making. You know, our political systems, our institutions are designed to think short term, to think in a very, I would say, pragmatic, short term, immediate gains way. If you look at the political cycles in parliament, in public service and government, there is a complete disconnection with these cycles and the cycles of the life of society and the life of ecosystems. So I think that we need to really come to grips to reconnect the times and the cycles. And for that, again, this reconnection has to have, you know, the voice, the agency, and the wisdom of Indigenous peoples. I have touched and lived and shared how much, you know, the community cycles are connected to the cycles of nature. The decision making, the societal political structure within communities. And that leads me to a second area of reconnection. It is the reconnection of scales. And how the community and the local level can inform national decision making, and how national decision making can inform the global decisions that we take in the world, internationally, globally, multilaterally, and vice versa. If we ask how much the UN Declaration is embedded in the daily lives of Indigenous peoples at the local level, or how much the UN Declaration has transpired and be translated into national legislation, for example. So this disconnect, I'm not sure that that's the way to say it in English, but this disconnection between the scales of institution building, in democracy building, in scale reconnection, it's extremely important for this new social contract that we need to build. And I think that we are faced with a critical existential question. It's either we think about the next elections, or we think about the next generations. And this is a question that can, you know, be responded with common sense. No, but it doesn't happen in the real world. And I think it is time that to overcome short-termism. It is time to think about this holistic view and perspective, to reconnect the scales, to reconcile as humans, but also to reconcile humanity with the natural environment. And these are fundamental questions for this so-called new social contract, where we need to listen more, and when we need to learn more. When we discuss, and perhaps we will address this issue on UN reform, for example, basically, I always argue that there is a need for a built-in listening machine. And in that, I think it's needed at all levels, at the national level, and when we design public policies, and when we take decisions, when we pass new legislation. This listening, the built-in listening machinery is so much needed for this new social contract that cannot exist without the voice and the agency of the almost 500 million indigenous persons from around the world, especially the younger generations. I'm very, I trust so much the opportunity of intergenerational co-responsible dialogue and co-building. And that's what we need here and now, a co-building. We don't have there is no plan B. We have to use this opportunity, this time of loss, of crisis, of reinvention, to really come up with something meaningful that requires the voice and agency of all of us. And again, this is not, we cannot, wait. It has to be government-led, of course. The role, the engagement, the commitment of governments are so important. But the voices of we the peoples are so critical as well. The we the peoples, this incredibly powerful first phrase of the United Nations Charter. So back to you again, Ghazali.
Appreciate it.
My friends, I hope you enjoyed this. Please consider to subscribe, to comment, and to share this video on your socials.